Hello everyone, I'm Paul and welcome to Gelling Outdoors. Have you got this problem with your sawmill? Well, my problem is that it's just too small. Today I've got this big log and I need to get this onto the sawmill, but obviously it's way too big. So what I've got to do is got to cut it down. Normally what I do is I take my chainsaw and I just freehand it. But today what I've decided to do is I purchased a lumber cutting guide and I decided to give it a try. I'll show you here. The one I bought is a Bozeman lumber cutting guide. You can get the Timber Tough or the Beam Machine. There's a bunch of different brands anyways. I paid $25 for this one at Princess Auto here in Canada. You can pick them up in the States maybe at Harbor Freight for about the same price, I would imagine. On Amazon, some of them are a little bit more expensive, anywhere from $25 to about $70 or something like that. Anyways, I'll just show you quickly what is in the box. You can see here there's a larger plate and I've got it mounted on the saw already. I'll show you that in a minute. It came with a manual, comes with some hardware and a stop plate. Now basically what it says is you can mount this on a board that's between 2 and 6 inches, but what they recommend in the manual is that you use a 2x4 or 2x6. Now that's the 2x4, that's an actual 1.5 by 3.5 inches. This stopper plate is used when you're using a 2x4. If you're not using the 2x4, then you don't use this plate. And there are some, there's an Allen key in here. There's a couple hardware bolts, and what they recommend, one of two ways. I'll show you here, if you come in a little bit closer. You can see the guide here, I've got it mounted on the bar. Now you can use bolts, you can drill holes through your bar, and you can put a couple of bolts, or as you can see here, in the front you can use set screws, and that's what I've done. I've just used the set screws and I just turned them in. You don't over crank them, just tight enough to hold the bar into place. I didn't want to drill a hole into this bar here. I will drill a hole in another bar. You can see here how this will pivot. I'll come down here at the end. You can see down here at the end, if you take a look from this side over here, you can see how my chainsaw is going to pivot as I'm cutting. So what I've done so far is I put a board going horizontal this way and I've leveled it. Then I ran another board across the top horizontally down to the other end. And again, I did the same thing on the other end. I put a board horizontally so that I can cut my angle, cut where I want it. This here end has a lot of meat on it, but as you can see down here, there's a big sweep. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but there's a big sweep in here and some nasty knots. So I want to take all that out of there. So that is the larger end on this side where I'm starting from, and I'm going to go to the small end. So let's get the saw started up and let's get this piece cut. It's going to throw this box out of the way so it's not in the way. The one thing to let you know, this is the first time that I'm using this tool. I've never used it before. The reason why I decided to try it, because when you are freehand cutting it, it is very difficult to keep it nice and straight. You get a little bit of wavering. So because I have to take off so much meat on this piece or this log here, I wanted to try one of these little guides to see if I can get a little bit more accuracy to take off a little bit less meat, get my cant into a better dimension. So what I'm going to do is I'll start the saw up and we'll give it a shot. a little bit here so it doesn't fall off right away. Holy smokes, guys, this thing came off. Didn't even notice it was loose. That's never good when something like that happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freehand the rest of it. I'm only just right here, so it's just a couple pieces. I got to take off the front and then I'll come back here. I'll have to look for the bolts and stuff for this piece. Didn't expect that to happen. All right, guys, you can see I made a little bit of mess here at the end, freehanding it. When I did stop the video there, what I did is I looked for the bolts or the nuts that fell off. Couldn't find them, so I continued to freehand it. I was thinking of maybe I should put the guide back on, but I decided to freehand it. It doesn't matter that's a little bit rough here. All I'm trying to do is reduce it to get it onto my sawmill. But overall, if you can look down from the other end, it actually made a pretty nice cut, except when I lift it up and then bring it back, lift it up, you can see a little bit of here. It's not so smooth, right? One thing to note, guys, I am not using a ripping chain on here. I'm just using my standard full comp chain, full chisel chain. So the reason for that is that I don't want to put the ripping chain on because I'm only going to use it occasionally. It's not worth it for me to buy one. So what I decided to do is just use my regular saw chain, that is. So anyways, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to look in the snow and stuff and find the parts that fell off. So anyways, what I'm going to do is just going to trim the other side and then I can get it onto my mill. Okay, guys, one thing I want to mention when I was cutting this is that I ate a lot of sawdust. Using the screen, the stuff was blowing through. You almost want to use a mask when you're doing this. That was a lot of sawdust that was coming at me. Part of it's probably because the way I was angling the saw and so on. I say it's my first time doing it, so the other thing as well is maybe I should have had some glasses underneath, some kind of sunglasses or safety glasses of some type to keep the sawdust off my eyes. One thing, I did eat a lot of sawdust and I got a lot of sawdust in the eye. So anyways, you can see all over my body, I don't mind that, but in the face I didn't like that as much. So anyways, guys, that's just a little side note. All right, guys, you had seen me flip the log there. I went ahead and I just cut the second side. You can see here I got it much smoother than I did the first one. Looks much better. Mind, it's not as big of a piece. You can see the first slab just over there by the trailer. And if you look at this, is much smoother. One thing that I did learn from the first one, I was eating a lot of sawdust and I didn't really like that, is that on the second cut, I kept my body much further away from the back of the saw. When I was first cutting it, I was looking over and watching it quite a bit. And that's because I'm just kind of learning learning how it's actually working. So anyways, the second one, what I did is I pushed against the board a little bit more and I kept it nice and stable. And I was able to walk. And the other thing is I kept my legs a lot more out of the way. That's the most dangerous thing I think right now, is to keep your legs away from the bar, because it's pretty dangerous thing if you don't have, especially if you don't have any protection on. Anyways, guys, just want to point out that little bit of information. So now the log is at a perfect size I can put on my mill, and I can now mill this piece of wood. So problem solved. One other note, guys, when I first did the first cut, the actual log actually moved a little bit. And I didn't really notice it much, but my videographer did. So the second cut, what I had done is I had put these wedges underneath, and they actually helped out to keep the log much more stable. One thing to note though is that you gotta get them out of the way if your bar is going to hit. At least you have one on the back. When you're cutting on the front, put it back and then go to the back and remove it when you're done there. Anyways, these are really handy. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to my channel already, you can do so by hitting that subscribe button down below. Once again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Woodland Outdoors.